In October 2017, Procter & Gamble received Ethical Consumer's worst rating for its palm oil policy, finding that P&G received only 30% of its palm oil from RSPO-certified mechanisms. Procter & Gamble is a multinational corporation currently making over $1 billion per year. It is well known for its products such as Febreze, Tide, Charmin, and Dawn. When consumers think of Procter & Gamble, they think of an ethical maker of safe products. The palm oil food product scandals were first brought to light in 2013 when Rainforest Action Network raised awareness that palm oil was being used in nearly 50% of all food products. The U.S. consumed 1.2 million metric tons of palm oil per year as of 2013. Although P&G was not listed in the Rainforest Action Network story, in the same year, Federal Land Development Authority, FELDA, a large supplier of palm oil, named P&G as an associate company. In 2015, the Wall Street Journal released two articles about the palm oil industry, one discussing forced labor and the other the smog. In response, Felda Global Ventures, FGV, and Procter & Gamble, along with other organizations, signed a memorandum of understanding to ensure palm oil sustainability. However, in March of 2016, Rainforest Action Network put out a press release stating that Felda was still embroiled in slave labor. Laborers were forced to work with pay at less than minimum wage. Some were forced to use strong pesticides without protective clothing, and children still spent their days working on the plantation, even in the smog. In September of 2016, P&G was named as one of the 9 major corporations that source their palm oil through Wilmar in a 2016 Amnesty International report. Wilmar was the largest producer of palm oil. Readily recognizable were Procter & Gamble, Colgate-Palmolive, Kellogg's, Nestle, and Unilever. The report showed the shocking amount of environmental damage, labor abuse, and human health issues in common practice by Wilmar's palm oil sources. P&G bought palm oil from both Wilmar and Felda. P&G claimed it was a very small user of Wilmar, getting most of its palm oil from a 50-50 joint venture with Felda Global Ventures in Malaysia. It also claimed to have worked with Rainforest Action Network and had, in fact, introduced Rainforest Action Network to Felda, who P&G claimed was working on its issues. It claims no responsibility for making certain its sources of palm oil are ethical. The sheer amount of rainforest destruction is unimaginable. In Indonesia and Malaysia combined, 66,000 square miles of forest have been replaced with palm oil plantations. Indonesia's peatlands alone hold at least 57 billion tons of carbon. If the remaining forests in Indonesia are burned, the carbon burden would be enough to push us past the 2 degrees Celsius goal set by the Paris Climate Agreement. Many animals are affected by the destruction of the forest, including endangered species such as the pygmy elephant, the orangutan, and the sun bear. Forests in Indonesia and Malaysia sit on deep beds of peat. Culverts are dug that pull water out of the peat. It is highly flammable when dry and burns quickly. The smog from the fires is thick enough that it reaches nations nearby. Harvard and Columbia universities found that more than 100,000 people have died from smog in surrounding areas. Many animals are unable to flee the fires. Even if they survive the fire burning, they will likely starve. Sun bears eat palm tree leaves due to lack of habitat. These bears, along with orangutans, are killed by the workers who consider them to be pests. Consumers look for ethical practices when buying products. They want to know that the products they are purchasing are not causing animal cruelty, rainforest destruction, and most importantly, child and forced labor abuse. Customers are still buying the products, and their stock price has not gone down due to any of these findings. The website continues to claim that it's using ethical sources of palm oil, which is all the customer sees. In the Ethical Consumers 2017 report, it was determined that P&G's strategic plan was very vague on how it would handle ethical problems in its sources. It did not have a mechanism to identify the individual plantations from which its oil was sourced. It is vital to have procedures in place to address such ethics problems. If consumers discover the fallacy of Procter & Gamble's image, it will be very difficult to restore the trust of its consumers or stockholders. This is a significant threat to the company as long as it does not modify its strategic plan. That must be done so that the next time a report comes out, P&G will appear to have realized that the way some sources get their palm tree oil is unethical and that it cares about the rainforest loss and animal and labor abuse.